Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Personal Best podcast. I'm so excited to be joined today by Shaun Traynor, founder of Kip, a business that's helping people disconnect from their phones, from social media, and live a more intentional life. Shaun, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much.
So nice to be able to chat with you today. There's so much that I want to get through, and there's going to be so much that I know the audience will find super interesting. The first thing I want to ask is, phone addiction seems to be a real problem in today's society. How do we fix it? And what is Kip trying to do to help with that?
I think trying to fix it is a much larger problem than maybe what I can solve. I've had a lot of conversations around this with different people, and the answer always seems to be to come back to the big tech companies and having them support more than anything. But where we're trying to play our part is trying to help people create a more intentional life with their phone usage. Technology is great, mobile phones are great, social media is great. There's no denying that. But I think our usage and our balance towards how we're interacting with it is probably a little bit off. So we probably need some support and some barriers that allows you to create space and live life in real.
Yeah. And it's something I wanted to talk with you about because obviously the theme of this podcast is helping people become the best versions of themselves. And there's so much that goes into that in terms of how we prioritize our health, our training, our nutrition, our relationships, our mindset. And actually, our phones can be a huge distraction from that. And I personally find that spending too much time on my phone on social media stops me from being the best version of myself that I could be. But let's dig into the backstory a little bit of how Kip came about, because I know you've been involved in the health and wellness industry for over 20 years now. Can you give me a bit of the origin story and why you've made this your new mission?
Um, yeah, a bit of context to it. Actually, we started off as a sleep wellness brand to try and fix my own problem, which was I was digitally wired going to bed. I was scrolling late at night and it was impacting my sleep and it was impacting my performance the following day. And then my wife kindly said to me one day, "You look absolutely knackered. We need to sort this out." So we created a wind down routine. When we were using different products, I was looking at them and thinking, well, these don't really talk to me as an individual. So I thought, let's try and create your own and try and create a moment in time that people put focus, like you're talking about with nutrition or exercise. There's an element of discipline that goes into those key wellness pillars. But I think sometimes sleep is the one that got forgotten about. So the focus was to try and help people disconnect, unwind, and sleep well. However, once we started the journey, market determines where you go with your business. And what was screaming out to me every single day was disconnecting from phones, how much digital distraction people were having, the impact that was having, not just on sleep, on productivity, on family time, on social. So we've doubled down on what our business now is. And we are now a pure digital wellness business that's helping people disconnect from their phone and be in the moment a little bit more, regardless of what that means. It could mean different things for different people. Spending time with your kids, being more productive at work, not scrolling between sets in the gym, actually going out to a social event and being present with your friends. It all means different things for different people. So it's been a journey from sleep wellness into digital wellness, but it's starting to feel really right at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting to learn how the business has evolved. Obviously, started off focusing on sleep, which is hugely important to our well-being, our recovery, but we can't get good sleep if we're spending all of our time looking at these screens, especially before bedtime, before we're trying to wind down and switch off. And we spoke earlier in a separate conversation about how society sometimes has to play catch up with these things. For example, with smoking, that was the norm. Everyone did it. People smoked indoors at social events. And then the science came out that it was actually really harmful for our health. And then we had to change the messaging and warn people of the dangers of smoking. And I guess we're sort of doing the same with social media now. I mean, when I was born, I guess it wasn't a thing that was widely used. We had the World Wide Web, and then social media came about, and it's this incredible thing that's allowed us to connect with people all over the world, start businesses, create personal brands. And we won't even get on to talking about AI, but we are now also seeing the side effects of being so connected. And I think something that's interesting is that a lot of us do struggle to disconnect even when we know that there's an impact on our well-being. And I catch myself doing this all the time when I'm scrolling on Instagram or TikTok without really realizing it. It's like an unconscious thing, and oftentimes it does leave me feeling drained rather than relaxed or well rested. And I think part of that is especially seeing content that doesn't make me feel great. You know, there's that comparison of people's lives, and then it's just me sat in my flat feeling a little bit low. How can we, I guess, get the messaging across to people that it's actually really healthy to be able to disconnect and switch off and be more present in your real life?
I think everyone knows and realizes, again, if we sort of tie it back to diet and exercise, everyone knows probably what they should eat.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that they probably should move a little bit more, but sometimes we make choices not to do those things. But I think the problem when it comes to digital and being on your mobile phone is that it's now become so habitual. It's now ingrained in us, and we don't even realize that we're actually going to our phone. We don't even realize that we're going to click on Instagram and start to scroll. We don't even know what we're looking at when we're scrolling.
Yeah.
It now just happens. It's such a behavioral, neurological pathway that we don't even realize it. So I think one of the first things to potentially do is just understand and be a little bit more intentional and go, actually, I've caught myself here. I know what I'm doing, and I know I shouldn't be maybe doing it. Not, not to the point of going, well, I need to get rid of it, but just be a bit more intentional about it. If you need to go and see something, go and see something. That's fine. But try not get yourself stuck into that doom scroll that people most often end up doing. But the problem also that we're facing is that these apps are designed to keep us there, right? They give us instant gratification. They give us those little hits of dopamine that make it feel good, that keeps you coming back, which creates that dopamine spike. But then what happens when it's too high? Your brain says, well, hang on a second, we're a little bit out of balance here. I need to pull you down. So when it pulls you down, it pulls you so far down that you get past baseline and you go into that mood swing, which is where people feel low, they feel anxious, they don't feel good about themselves. And that's what's happening with inside the brain. And unfortunately for us, we go back to feeling low, then go, well, how do I get the high again? And you go back to the phone. And because it's then habitual, you're in a cycle that is hard to really break.
I think the research on this is so interesting. And as I just mentioned previously, I noticed in myself that if I had been scrolling on Instagram or TikTok, I ended up in a bit of a negative headspace. And also, I just lose track of time. I have a quick scroll on TikTok and it's been an hour, 2 hours, which honestly is quite embarrassing. But yeah, hearing some more of the research as to actually how it affects our mood is so fascinating to me. And I've been listening to some of TJ Power's stuff, who I know you're familiar with.
Yep.
And he explained that dopamine evolved in our brain to make hard tasks feel rewarding.
Yep.
There is a reason behind that. You know, when we were out hunting for food as hunter-gatherers and we got the wildebeest or whatever it was, we need that feeling of reward, that sensation to make it worthwhile doing, otherwise we wouldn't do it. And social media gives us the same feeling, I suppose, but in a much faster and more rapid way that we're not quite used to. Our biology is not quite caught up with that yet. And so, as you've explained so well, you have these spikes and then these rapid decreases of dopamine, and that can obviously leave you feeling quite low, quite unmotivated to then do things, which I think is really interesting. And as a result, then everyday tasks can feel quite boring.
But it's those everyday tasks.
Yeah.
And TJ's absolutely right. It's those everyday tasks of completing something and feeling like you've completed it, which gives you a self of, great, okay, I've ticked that box. And it might just be something like doing the chores around your house, or you've got a project to finish with work and you actually set the time to do it. We all feel good when we've completed something. Psychologically, if you think about, if I try and relate it to gyms as well, people who train with a program and train intentionally psychologically feel better when they leave the gym because they feel like they've got through their workout versus somebody who walks into the gym with no real plan, who goes, oh, I'll do a few of them and I'll go over there and do a couple of them. And then they walk out going, oh, it was okay. And I think that's the same thing here. Like, if you do hard things, you're going to reward yourself for doing those hard things. Where at the moment, we're doing really easy things, which is just in our hand, and it feels good because our brain's saying, oh, I like this, this is nice, but we're not really doing hard things. So it's cheap dopamine, effectively.
Yeah, I like that, cheap dopamine. And I think what's difficult about it is, as humans, we are hardwired to seek out comfort in so many ways. You know, the fast food, the sugary food, not moving our body because we're trying to conserve energy. That could be, you know, watching Netflix instead of going to the gym. And social media is part of that as well. It requires so little energy and effort to sit on your phone and scroll through TikTok and scroll through Instagram. But I don't think anyone ever puts down their phone and feels really good about that and feels pride in that necessarily. But I want to go back to a point that you mentioned earlier about the fact these social media apps in particular are designed to grab our attention. And I know you're conscious of this as well, that it's not about guilt tripping people and making them feel bad for their screen time or their social media consumption. And I think it's important we give ourselves some compassion, because apps like Instagram, especially TikTok, are designed to keep our attention and essentially hijack our dopamine and our reward systems. I just wondered if you could give some insights on that.
So I think the first thing that comes to my mind is we are, as individuals, up against a team of people in Silicon Valley or in the tech companies or wherever who are paid to keep us with inside those apps, right? Through instant gratifications, they're designing, like we will put business plans together and business models together. They're doing it as well with whatever budget they may have, and hundreds of people, thousands of people to go, well, how can we make this like, and how can we do this? And the guy who created the code for the infinite scroll has gone on record to say he wished he'd never created it.
Really?
Gone on record to say he wished he'd never created it. So that constant scroll that we got is a piece of code that was designed, and he said he wished he'd never created it. So these are the things that I think the people who have built these businesses know and understand what they've built and what they've done. And it's not to say that they've done it wrong, because we're also part to blame because we've been sucked into it. But I think we all fundamentally know that us spending too much time inside of these apps or inside of our phone, it's not good for us as humans. It's not good for our social connections. We are creating more isolation. We are making people feel probably worse about themselves, and they'll see things from either celebrities or politicians, or it's forming beliefs. And I think if you spend too long in there, you're going to end up feeling probably a little bit low and a little bit down. I think that's what we're starting to see.
And I think we do, or at least I beat myself up for lacking the willpower to just switch off my phone and turn off social media. But as we've said, these platforms are designed to keep us on them, and it's almost not a fair fight.
Nope.
Because, as you say, it's me up against a team of tech giants in Silicon Valley, and I think that's really hard. And I'm a big fan of Johan Hari's work, and he's done a lot of research about addiction, and one of the things being our addiction to social media. Something that really reframed it for me is that we think of ourselves as the consumer of social media. So we actively choose to look on Instagram and consume content. Maybe we buy something off Instagram, but actually your attention is the product that they are selling to advertisers.
Yep.
And that reframe was so interesting to me.
So one of the biggest moral dilemmas I have with starting this business and our first product is meta ads.
Yeah.
And knowing that that's where most people will get served advertising, and most people will potentially click or buy from those platforms. And then I'm sitting here trying to help people and support people in their balance around digital distraction and phone use. My moral compass is going, well, I don't want to serve the beast to fulfill my business.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd rather try and do it organically through partnerships versus putting money into the companies that I'm trying to help people come away from. And we are the product, unfortunately. Like, it is an attention economy, and we're the monetary value in it. And it's a real difficult balance to try and get to. Like what you said before, like, it's so hard to not make people feel bad about their phone use. And I've asked many questions, and I've asked many people things about your screen time and how many times do you pick up your phone. You can go and see that information. And it's always met with a little bit of guilt or shame from the
Yeah.
individual, because they're like, oh God, I didn't realize it was so high. And funnily enough, you ask people, what do you think your average screen time is? And it's always less than what it actually is, because we lose track of time once we're in in the apps, right? So for me, it's the moral compass of, how do I make a business succeed and survive? But how do I do it in a right way that feels right for what I'm trying to position myself as
Yeah.
well? And
It's a
tough.
real dilemma.
Real
And
dilemma.
I feel the same with this podcast. What I love about it is having these longer form conversations. I think that's the beauty of podcasting. But in order for people to find the content, I have to be posting it on social media and cut down an hour-long conversation into a 30-second soundbite that might grab somebody's attention. And that can be quite difficult. And yeah, I think social media is an amazing platform for so many reasons. But part of me wishes I could just have the conversation and it just gets spread into people's ears without me having to do anything on social media. But unfortunately, that's not the world that we are living in.
It's not. And I think the reason for you using social media is right. And I think the reason for people in the wellness business as well for using social media is right, because it's got a place and it is a platform. But I think our intentional usage towards it is what's off. Right? If you're intentional about what you need to go and interact with, or what you need to go and find, or what you need to go and message about, great, do it. It's a great platform. But we go onto it and lose ourselves. And you start seeing videos that you're just like, I don't even know what I've watched. Or you pick up your phone, not even knowing how you've ended up on TikTok or on Instagram or in Snapchat or whatever platform it is that you use. You don't know how you got there.
Yeah.
Your brain does, because your brain's wired for that pathway. So I think how you use social media is great. And another thing you just mentioned there about breaking down to a 30-second snippet, and I know we spoke about this briefly before, our attention span in the last 20 years has gone from 12 seconds to 8 seconds. So actually, we're decreasing what our memory, what our attention span actually is. So we've got even less time to try and capture somebody's imagination these days. So God knows what that's doing to our memory and our work and everything else. We're away.
Can you also share the stat about losing focus when we pick up our phone? Because that was really interesting to me.
So this was from Johan Hari, from his Stolen Focus book. The stat is that if you are distracted by a notification on your phone whilst you're working, regardless of what that notification's come from, whether it be WhatsApp or a message or an email, by the time you pick your phone up to check the notification, it takes you 23 minutes to come back to focus on your work, because you'll check that notification and then instantly your brain will go to, oh, well, I'll just check Instagram, or I'll just check LinkedIn, or I'll just check this. And the thing is, we're all guilty of it. We all do it, and we don't know how and why we do it, but we do it. And that's costing 23 minutes just for one check of the phone. And then if you look at the average time somebody's picking up their phone in a day, which I think the average is about 140 to 150 times per day, 16 hours awake, if you're sleeping for 8 hours, you're picking up your phone 10 to 12 times an hour. How's anyone getting any work done?
Yeah.
How are we actually getting into a state of flow to get work done? And then you maybe look at going, well, what's happening to the working week? Is it getting stretched? Are people doing more than the 40 hours? Because actually they're probably prolonging that working week because they're distracted. There's a lot.
Yeah, there is a lot. And it makes a lot of sense as to why people feel like they're not being very productive. And a lot of us know this, that we get distracted by our phones. I remember when I was revising for A-levels and uni exams, I'd purposely try and lock my phone away or put it in a different room so that I could solely focus on the revision that I had to do. And it's exactly the same in the workplace. But I think that's a key point, that we are actually working longer, or, you know, we can't switch the laptop off at 5 p.m. because people can still contact us on email or WhatsApp. And it's really hard to have those boundaries now. And we were discussing previously about some of the data around burnout and why so many people are feeling that. And I think social media and our phone use also has a crucial role to play in that as well.
I agree. I think we've created an always-on
Yeah.
lifestyle by our phones in our hands. Email is there constantly, 24/7. WhatsApp, 24/7. WhatsApp groups, 24/7.
Muted.
And a lot of notifications coming through. Social media, 24/7. News, 24/7. And it's all within the palm of our hands. So we are constantly connected to something, whether it be positive, whether it be negative. So I think it's really difficult. And I think that has created, in my opinion, I think that's creating the increase in burnout. Burnout has always been seen as a workplace environment thing. And I think actually what we're seeing now, or what I believe we're seeing now, is that manifests in the workplace, but it's because it's constant throughout life because of this always on, this always connected world. You said rightly before, like many years ago, you used to be able to leave your desk at work and your computer be on it and that'd be it. You'd be finished. You'd go home to your family. Connection was probably a lot better and you'd be able to have the cutoff. Now the lines are so blurred. You'll still be working at weekends, you'll still be working in the evenings, we've created an always on lifestyle, and I think that is where sometimes we need to then create that intentional barrier to go, hey, I'm shutting off. Like, I'm having some time with my family. It might just be like, as an example, I was having conversations with people whilst I've been doing some content for my business. And even just having a meal with your family with no distractions is now being seen as something that's a reward almost. I had one guy say to me yesterday, his wife texted him in the same house.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow. Like, are we really at a place where you can't just go and have some time without your phones or without digital distractions, where you can just be in real life and just be present? And I think we're creating a bit of a situation where we don't know which way is going to be the norm moving forward. And I've had a few conversations with people around this, and they've said, look, this is just the norm now. I refuse to accept it. I refuse to accept that 5, 6, 7 hours a day on your mobile phone is the norm. I refuse to accept that every moment you feel quiet or bored, you have to reach for your phone and start scrolling. I refuse to accept between every single set in the gym you start scrolling. I refuse to accept you go to a nightclub and the first thing you're doing is filming instead of dancing. That, to me, just doesn't seem like real life. It feels like a Black Mirror thing. And I feel that's what we have to change. And it's going to be hard to change it. Of course it's going to be hard to change, because it's me and some thoughts and assumptions from people against what's going on in Silicon Valley with Instagram, TikTok and everything else. But I feel like I have to try. My why when I started in the fitness industry was to always make people feel better about themselves. And I tried to do it through fitness because that's what I loved. My why now is to make people feel better for themselves, but to try and create more in real life connection. That's what I think we're missing more of, and we're driving further isolation.
Yeah. I fully support what you said, and I will join you in that fight. And something, again, TJ Power said is that we invented phones to connect us with those far away, and today they disconnect us from those right next to us. And
Couldn't be more true.
the post he shared on Instagram showed two images. The first one was a young person on an old-fashioned phone in like black and white, and then the other image was him and his I think it's fiance in bed next to each other, but both on their phones. And I know that's a very black and white contrast. Obviously, sometimes I am with my friends, we're on our phones, but we're sharing things and we're having a laugh, and it's not all bad. But I agree that we are losing that in-person connection slightly, and it makes me sad. And I guess with the work you're doing and the mission behind KIP is to bring back some of that in-person connection.
Yeah.
How do you think we can do that?
I mean, I say it's me on my own at the moment. I know there are a lot of businesses out there that are trying to do the same thing, and there's some great work happening. And I met a couple yesterday, Jason and Nicola, who are the founders of Click, who do in real life events. And I think there's a lot of good that's trying to happen out there. I still think, though, what we're struggling with at the moment is our habits towards our phone. We're never going to get rid of our phones, right? Our phones they're here to stay, and the technology might even keep it advancing. But I think what we have to become is more intentional and more realistic with how we use them, because we're wasting time. I mean, this podcast is called Your Personal Best. Like, if you reduce your screen time from 7 hours to 2 hours, what are you going to do with those other 5 hours? You could go and work on something. You could either go and have a conversation with somebody, you could go and train, you could go and read, you could go and do something better than waste time by just scrolling. So I think the first part is just keep raising the awareness of the conversation, and I do think that's starting to happen. I think Gary Vee made an Instagram post about this not so long ago, where he said 2026 is the year of the unplug. So I do think there's a bit of a movement slowly starting to help people come away from digital. But at the same time, us as consumers, as users, have to have a little bit more discipline towards it. I go back to the key pillars of wellness. Your three top ones, and I know there are many more, but sleep, exercise, nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
Each one of those pillars has to have a level of discipline towards them to achieve something. I think the same thing happens with digital wellness. And I also think digital wellness will become a key pillar of wellness soon. Like, you've got emotional, financial, spiritual. I think digital wellness will end up into that bracket soon. I don't think we fully know the impact that actually this constant connectivity to social media or to technology is currently having on us. We know it makes people feel bad. We know it's driving a little bit of isolation and stress and anxiety and everything else. But I don't think we truly know the impact it's fully having on us just yet.
Yeah. And it's so ironic, isn't it, that we've created social media to connect with people, and yet we're so much more disconnected in our real lives. And I think what's nice is I look at my mom and my parents' generation, and they grew up without social media, and now it's still sort of new to them. My mom's on Facebook. She thinks she's just downloaded Instagram, but when we've been out for family dinners and me and my stepsister are on our phone, she's like, put your phone away, this is family time. And I've got so much better at it, but it's through that awareness and it's through that discipline that I've been able to do that. And I do worry a little bit that the younger generation, the kids who are, starting school with mobile phones, won't be able to do that in the same way. And just to give a bit of optimism to the conversation, you mentioned that you think things will change slightly in the years to come. And I do think the pendulum is swinging back slightly. And I saw the Financial Times did a report that time on social media peaked in 2022. And it's actually gone down slightly. So adults are spending 10% less time on these platforms than they were 3 years ago. And the age bracket where it's reduced the most is 16 to 24. Yeah. Which does give me some hope.
Yeah, and I think it definitely can be done. I really do think it can be done. And screen time and being on your phone is not a bad thing. It isn't. Like, we all do it. Like, we all go on Instagram, we all go on LinkedIn, we all go on our emails. It's not a bad thing. It's just our overall time on it, I think, is the issue. But it is starting to swing the right way. There is more conversations happening around it. There are better support, do I say, at the moment, somewhat. But again, we have to meet it 50-50, right? We have to put our part in. The support's there, but we have to also do a little bit of the work to get to that place.
Yeah, and I think people are craving the connection. And I think people who are conscious of their phone use and don't want to be spending so much time on social media will find ways to combat that.
100%. And I think it's almost like we've forgotten what life was like before we had a phone, right? You could do loads of things before you had a phone. It was great. And I feel like now our default setting is pick up the phone. Mm-hmm. I'm bored. I'll pick up the phone. It's quiet. I'll pick up the phone. There's so many things that you can do out there. So many things. Like, just read. Or actually, do you know what I think one of the hardest things people are finding at the moment? If you're watching TV or a Netflix series, just watch the whole episode without picking up your phone.
Double screen. We all
can't do it.
Yeah.
It's so hard. But again, it's not trying to make people feel bad about themselves. We all do it. But I think it's just intentional use. And the phone is so tempting. Like, you just want to just quickly check, or notification, you just want to quickly check. If you take that temptation away, you'll be very surprised about actually where your mind starts to go. Like, we spoke before, and I said every now and then I'll switch my phone off for a whole weekend. That first day is a little bit, where's my phone? I look for my phone. But then the second day, it's bliss. It's so nice because I've taken that mental sort of drain that maybe the phone pull has on me. And then when it comes to actually picking up my phone and switching it on the Monday again, in my mind, I'm thinking, I bet you've missed out on loads, missed out on nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. So actually, why are we there in the first place? So there's so much good that can be done, and with social media. And I'll actually share a story with this, which actually it warmed my heart a little bit yesterday, and how somebody used social media really well. And again, it was the guys from Click who shared this story. A girl went to Manchester University and put out on TikTok, very vulnerable, put herself out there. I've only just moved here. I don't know anybody. Does somebody want to go for a walk with me? She said where she was going to be, at what time, and she was expecting maybe a couple of people to turn up. Over 100 people turned up who saw that TikTok.
Wow.
Because it resonated. So then that creates human connection. And I think that's using social media in a really powerful way.
Yeah.
But sometimes we have to show maybe a little bit of vulnerability, a little bit of openness to put ourselves out there, where I think a lot of people, when it comes to social media, they show all the best sides of their life. They show all the highlights, which sometimes isn't reality, right? And I'm not saying that people have to share their down days, but we create this perfect world that doesn't exist in every single day for us. Sometimes we have tough days with work. Sometimes we have tough days with partners or with family or whatever it might be. You don't share that on social media. But then when you see somebody else doing it, you instantly go, comparison. So it makes it tough.
And we didn't have access to so many people's lives before the onset of social media. When you would catch up with friends or chat with your family, that's when you'd learn about what was going on in their respective lives. Whereas now, if I open my phone first thing in the morning, I see 50 people and what they're doing before I've even thought about what I've got to do that day. And you're right, if it all looks like perfection and they're on a beach in the Maldives, of course I'm not going to feel great about my life and have that positive outlook that we all want to have.
But it's not even, this is then not even about social media. You then add on top of that news and everything that's going on in the world at the moment. And then you're like, wow. And then you're walking out the door to go and be productive in your work day and you're thinking, can't really be arsed. Like you're thinking, oh, God, I feel shit. So my advice to anybody, if you can protect that first hour in your morning and not have any screen time, either go for a walk or go and train, or me and my wife every single morning, we sit there and have our coffee on the sofa and we just chat for an hour without our phones. It's bliss. It's such a nice feeling. And then you can get into your day when your mind's ready and your body's ready to do it.
Yeah.
So if you can protect that first hour, please try and protect it. Put your phone out of the way, switch it off, whatever you need to do, but try and protect that first hour if you can.
I read that 94% of people open their phone within a minute of waking.
Yeah.
And as we've already discussed, that just crashes your dopamine.
Crashes
for the rest of
dopamine,
the day.
spikes your stress. And it's also, if you are scrolling before, I think there was a research paper that was done, that if you are scrolling before bed, 70% of the people who were scrolling before bed reported increase in stress and anxiety. So how's that going to impact your sleep? Sometimes it's not about the blue light, right? Everyone's like going on about blue light, and Matthew Walker had gone back on himself saying it was blue light that actually was the impactor of sleep. They've gone back on that now, and actually what it is the content that you're watching that will start to play on your mind a little bit more. So then when you're going to bed, you're probably thinking about things, or you're stressing about something, or something's made you anxious, or something's keeping you a little bit more digitally wired. So again, if you can protect the mornings. If you can protect that hour before bed, protect that hour before bed.
Yeah.
You
I
really
have
can.
been pretty good at implementing that myself when I started to realize that social media was creeping into those parts of my day. So I pretty religiously don't go on my phone before 9 a.m.
Yep.
And I wake up at 6, which gives me 3 hours of the day where I can just focus on myself. Normally I'll get a gym session in or go for a walk, and that is a really peaceful part of my day.
Yeah.
And I notice that as soon as I'm on those apps, I'm on them for the rest of the day. So the longer I can delay that is really beneficial. Same with before bed, try my best to read, or sometimes I watch TV or a Netflix show. But I've recently got an Aura ring.
Yeah.
And I've become an absolute nerd with all of the data and what it tells me about my sleep. And if I stay up late and I'm scrolling, it takes me way longer to fall asleep, and my sleep quality isn't as good. So the research backs it up. We try and deny it and just succumb to like a little TikTok scroll or something, but it really does have an impact if you're doing that every single day.
It really does. And again, it comes back to that little bit of discipline. We have to try a little bit harder ourselves. And then the other aspect of it is, again, I liken it back to nutrition and exercise, right? Because that's what my experience has been in my career. You're not going to do this 100% of the time. No one's expecting you to do 100% of the time. Diet, you're not going to eat perfectly every single day. You will have a pizza, or you will have a takeaway. You go out for food, or you have a couple of drinks, whatever it might be. Like, it's fine. It's normal. You're not going to train 7 days a week. You might train 3 or 4 and then have recovery days. Same thing with your phone. Like, if you've all of a sudden caught yourself and you're lying in bed and you're scrolling, you think, okay, right, caught myself. Don't do it. You just have to be more intentional. It can't be every single day. It can't be every single night or every single morning, because it will consume you and it'll just become more and more and more. So just have a little bit more discipline, a little bit more intention around why you're going there in the first place.
Do you have any other tips that we can give people for having a healthier relationship with their phone and with social media consumption? Obviously, we've spoken about the mornings and the evenings and having that awareness. We've also spoken about how people can manage better at work so that they're not distracted and they're not losing focus. Is there anything else you think is important for that conversation?
I mean, without trying to plug my own product.
Go ahead.
It's difficult, right? Because we've spoke about your phone is always there. Your phone is now everything to you. It's your social network, it's your work, it's your news, it's your alarm, it's your maps, it's everything for you. So if you can curate your phone to how you want it to be in certain times of the day, i.e. block access to certain apps, take away certain notifications, and have the discipline to stay with that, you will feel better about yourself. Almost you need to try and create a phone that when you do go on social media, it feels like a reward.
Yeah.
Versus the other way around. Like, coming off social media shouldn't feel like the reward. Like, going onto it and the reward should be the default first. So if you can create your phone to be able to do that, and that's what our initial product does, it allows you to turn your phone into the tool you want to make it. You can keep certain apps, you can block certain apps, and then you can't override it. Great. And then when it's time to come back to it, you tap and then you can get those apps back again, and that becomes your reward. So I suppose it's also as well, what is the most important thing for you? And we've gone out and done some research on this, and we've asked a lot of people the question, where do you feel that your phone pulls you away from the most meaningful times? For some people it is work. So if it's work for you, protect that time as much as you can. Like, block all the apps or leave your phone somewhere else or whatever it might be. If it's time with your family and your kids and you want to just be totally present with them, when you walk through that door at the end of your shift or end of work, put your phone somewhere else, block everything, and be in that moment. Because we spoke before about like how quick time's going for people. Like, don't regret wasting time by being in your phone and missing those moments. And I come back to, again, the thing about Ibiza and people dancing and being in the clubs. You see different videos. You see Ibiza from the early 2000s, where there was no phones and everyone was just dancing. And then you see Ibiza now, where everyone's just filming. I know now which party looks better.
Yeah.
The one where everyone's just dancing, hands in the air, they look free, they feel free, versus everyone just recording. So choose where you'd rather be. And I can almost guarantee most people will say they would rather be in the moment versus I'd rather be behind a screen recording.
Yeah.
But you've got to be able to make that conscious choice.
I saw a photo on Instagram, I think it was, and it was a picture of a train carriage, and everybody was looking down at their phone except for this elderly man who was just sat looking out the window. And the caption said something about how strange this reality must seem for him, and how for us it's almost so normal. And I bet you every single person who was sat there on their phone felt like they were doing something really important, or that they needed to be on those social media apps. And that is something that saddens me a little bit, is that we're so busy looking down at these little screens that we're not looking at the world around us. And just to give another tip to how we can use our phones better, I think spending time outdoors, particularly in nature, without being on your phone is so helpful for me. It gives me such a good mental boost. And
Yeah.
I absolutely love listening to podcasts pretty much everywhere I walk. I've got a podcast in my ears, but I know that it's another form of distraction. And sometimes I'll just listen to nothing. I went for a walk the other day for about 2 or 3 hours and just listened to nothing. And that's probably the longest time I've been just with my own thoughts without distractions since I was a kid.
Oh, it was lovely, wasn't it?
And it was really nice.
And I think,
Really, really nice.
I think some people, and I think this is maybe a bit of a world that we've created as well. Some people may be in a position where actually their own thoughts might scare them, or they might not
that's a
hear.
good
They might
point.
they might not like hearing what's being said back to them
Mm,
because we control the narrative, right, in our own head, and you can sometimes talk to yourself in a really great way, positive affirmations, gratitude, whatever it might be. But sometimes you can get some people who actually don't like to hear what comes back to them. So that's why I think why they try and silence that noise. So I understand that. And I think that's a totally different topic and a totally different thing to try and support people with. But if you're listening to a podcast, you might get some value from listening to a
oh, yeah.
podcast. So actually
Yeah.
that might be educational. That might be positive for you to come and work on here on, or might be going into your work or what you're working in social environments. So I don't think podcasts necessarily are the downfall of technology or social media. I think actually that's probably quite a good thing to do more than anything. I think it's more the time wasted inside the scroll. And I think when people can't be with their own thoughts or just be, like, I think we've lost the ability to be bored.
Yeah.
I genuinely think we've lost the ability just to be bored because I think we fill every single second with something.
We do.
Every single second. And I think sometimes boredom and sometimes being with your own thoughts actually is a brilliant place to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do they say? The best ideas come whilst you're in the shower. What are you doing? You're just you in your mind and you're thinking. So actually be with your thoughts, be bored a little bit because some good things will really come from that place.
I can remember being, 9 or 10, being a Sunday afternoon and saying to my parents, I'm bored, I've got nothing to do, because they were busy doing tasks and I'm an only child, so I didn't have siblings to annoy or entertain. And I'd end up finding something, colouring, making something. And I can't remember the last time I was bored. And I'm grateful to live a busy life and, be able to work and have a social life. But I also think it's important that, as you've outlined, we just allow ourselves to be and not have to fill every spare second with something with social media.
And I think also, if you ask anybody, actually, regardless of age, I was going to say elderly people, but if you ask anybody of age, I can guarantee you no good story starts with, do you remember that time we were scrolling? Guarantee you, no one would ever say that. Good stories come from being out there, having fun, being in real life, being at an event, being at a sporting occasion, whatever it might be. That's where good fun happens. That's where good stories happen. And not to sound too sort of down or dreary about something, but unfortunately, this life will end at one time. And when you're on that last moment, you're not going to look back and think about all the times that you were scrolling.
Yeah.
You're going to look back at all the times that meant something for you. And those times that meant something for you were the times with your family, were the times you traveled, were the times you felt fulfilled in life. And unfortunately for us right now, I don't think we're spending enough time in those moments. We're spending too much time inside the digital moment. You won't remember that when you come to the end of this life.
That's such a nice point to end on, but I do have to ask you the question
please.
that I ask every guest.
Yeah.
If you had to give people one piece of advice to help them achieve their personal best, what would it be?
Go for it. Back yourself. Just go for it. Like, every single one of us has got so much potential. We don't know necessarily what that potential might be in, but we've all got a reason why we're here. And either we're holding ourselves back, or we haven't got into the right environment, or we've got an idea or something in our mind and we go, oh, I really like that. Just go for it. Just start it. Just do it. Because only good things come from doing. If you sit and wait, you'll regret. And regret will haunt you for the rest of your life. Failure will not. I always had a moment where I used to fear failure, or I used to feel what people thought. That's gone. Like, everyone's going to fail at some point. Failure's great. You learn so much from it, but at least you say you've tried. Regret will always stay with you. So go for it, back yourself, and just do it.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. And you put that so perfectly. So thank you for sharing that advice. I've really loved this conversation today. I love the work that you're doing. And I really hope people listening will start to think more about their relationship with their phone and maybe where it needs to be in their life and where it doesn't. And I'm a firm believer that where our attention goes, your life follows. And I think with this wonderful device that you've created, the work that you're doing with Kip, people will be able to move their attention away from their phone and focus on the things that really matter and the things that are important to them. So keep up the good work.
Thank you.
And if people want to follow the journey and check out what you're doing, where
Yeah.
can they go?
Seems weird to say socials now, doesn't it?
Oops.
So socials are at Kip Disconnect. Website is currently www.kipsleep.com, which we're just about to transition and move over. But socials, Kip Disconnect would be the best place. And I suppose for anyone listening, for a final note, just be intentional with your phone. Right? Know what's important to you around you and make sure that's the most important thing. Phones aren't the most important thing. People are, work is, family is, social life is. Try and be intentional.
Love that. Shaun, thank you
No, thank
so
you, Ruby.
much.
Really appreciate it.
And all the best with the journey that you're on.
Thank you very much.